Here discussing, a political commentator, Angela Rye, and syndicated talk radio host John Fredericks. Hello to both of you. Angela, so let's take a look at the victory lap today with the passage of the tax bill. No doubt that it's a major moment for the president and for the GOP, right?
It's definitely the biggest moment they've had, I think, unfortunately, for the American people and all the empty promises that Donald Trump gave during his campaign. It's just frankly more of the same. Donald Trump said that he wouldn't benefit from this tax bill. We know that there's a real estate loophole that he will directly benefit from. You think about the 83% of the tax benefits in this bill going to the top 1% of income earners in this country. You think about the 86% or the 86 million families who will be impacted adversely by this tax bill. It's not a tax reform that we should be celebrating if it's a tax increase for 86 million American families.
It is a win for them, right?
No, it's a win for them, but I think that wins should be celebrated when they benefit the American people writ large, and that's not what we have here.
So, John, let's take a closer look at this group, because there's noticeably one person of color in this picture, one black person in this picture, and it's Senator Tim Scott. Do you think this would have been better if the GOP had the group had been a little bit more, had a little bit more diversity? That was a criticism, and then Tim Scott responded to it. Now, we'll talk about that later.
Well, I think, look, the Republicans need to elect more people in diversity in their party across all offices across America. There's no question about that. But let's get to this tax cut. This is a tremendous win for the American people. The only loser in this tax cut is the Democratic National Committee, who went crazy. They spent weeks lying to the American people about what this tax cut is. They got the legacy media like the New York Times and the Washington Post behind them. Now what's happened is you've got the biggest middle-class tax cut in the history of the Republic that went down today. Over 85% of every American is going to see a benefit from this tax cut starting in February when they get more money in their check.
John,
an average family
I don't know if the facts bear that out.
$80,000 is going to save $2,000.
I let you go on because I let Angela go on in the beginning.
Because
let's get
Angela's
back
not telling the truth.
Okay.
You've got to tell the truth about this tax cut.
But
that's not what we're talking about.
We
were talking about diversity and Senator Tim Scott. Angela, Senator Tim Scott, who is the only black Republican in the Senate, played an integral part in the writing of this bill and getting it passed. He deserves to be standing front and center. However, he got into a Twitter spat with a blogger who tweeted this. He said, "What a shocker. There's one black person there." And sure enough, they have him standing right next to the mic like a manipulated prop. Way to go, Senator Tim Scott. Hashtag Trump, hashtag tax scam bill. Senator Scott fired back. He said, "Oh, probably because I helped write the bill for the past year, have multiple provisions included, got multiple senators on board over the last week, and have worked on tax reform my entire time in Congress. But if you'd rather just see my skin color, please feel free." What's your reaction, Angela?
I think he raised some fair points. If he worked on the bill, he should be standing there. I think that doesn't negate the reality not only of this particular photo opportunity, it doesn't negate the reality of the very abysmal diversity record of Trump's cabinet, of Trump's White House, or of his judicial picks and nominations. So the reality of it is this is an individual who has struggled with diversity, recognizing it, appointing it, and hiring it throughout the duration of his career, way before politics were even in play.
Yeah. John, the president has talked about moving on an infrastructure next. However, Paul Ryan and many Republicans would love to reform Medicare and Social Security. The president has promised several times that he wouldn't touch entitlements. What happens if he breaks his campaign promise?
Well, if Paul Ryan does the most moronic move in political history and defies this president's campaign promise of not touching entitlements and not throwing grandma off the cliff, then the guy should be voted out as speaker and the president should veto the bill. This president campaigned vigorously on protecting the entitlement package for Americans for this time. And he said, I'm going to make the country so rich and so prosperous by tax cuts and other things that we're going to be able to pay for this. So to come out of the tax cut and then be talking about entitlement reform and cuts in Medicaid and Social Security is about the stupidest, most asinine thing in politics that I have ever heard. Look, Paul Ryan had a shot in 2012, and he got his clock cleaned by Joe Biden and Barack Obama. So I don't really care what he has to say. The president needs to take control of this agenda and move forward with infrastructure because that is what he promised, and that's where the jobs are, and then we can rebuild our roads and our bridges and our tunnels and our infrastructure.
So here's the little challenge with that. There's a provision now that exists in Congress called pay-go, and that's pay-as-you-go, meaning that this very huge tax bill that you're celebrating, championing, and cheerleading tonight has to be paid for. And one of the things that absolutely is in play is Medicare funding. That also means that Medicaid funding is also at risk. That also means that Social Security is also at risk. Entitlements are on the chopping block because this $1.5 trillion tax package has to be paid for. You can shake your head, but that's the law.
It's going to be paid for by economic growth, Angela. I mean, you people don't understand.
Maybe you don't understand what pay-as-you-go means.
By economic
Paul Ryan
growth
today said he's not sure that'll happen, John.
And driving up the economy.
I don't think you understand what I mean. Pay-go it means that whatever's on the books, something has to get hit. There's some cut that has to incur as a result of you spending more government money. That is a Republican-led agenda item that is on the books. We're not talking about an infrastructure package right now. I'm talking about how they're going to pay for this tax reform bill.
Yeah, okay.
Pay for the tax
Hold that thought, John.
By
on the other side of the break. We'll be right
revenues
back. We'll be right
through
back.
economic prosperity and growth.
All right, I'm back now with my panel, with my experts, I should say, Ansel Rye and John Frederick. So President Trump and the GOP notching a big legislative win with their tax bill, which also makes a big change to Obamacare. Let's talk about that. Angela, I just want to play something from the president today after this tax bill passed. Here's what he told reporters.
I hate to say this, but we essentially repealed Obamacare because we got rid of the individual mandate, which was terrible. And that was a primary source of funding of Obamacare.
So, Angela, the president seems to think that stripping away the law's individual mandate amounts to repeal of the whole law.
Yeah, that's not true, but here's the big challenge. It is a linchpin of Obamacare, of the Affordable Care Act, and that is by forcing an individual mandate, it ensures that healthier people are helping to ensure that premiums are lower for the American people. What he really did was he sacrificed health care for at least 13 million Americans by agreeing to sign this bill into law. He hasn't signed it into law yet, but that is the main challenge with this tax reform measure. You are creating a situation where it's more difficult for people to have not just health care, but affordable health care, something that he was saying that he was for.
Yeah. John, millions of Americans will lose their insurance as a result of this. Is this really something to celebrate, you think?
Totally false, Don. We have millions of Americans right now that are paying $1,000 or upwards tax on them because if they don't buy the insurance, they have to pay the tax. So here's what happens. Okay, so a family has to pay.
They're going to lose their health care.
Well, but Don, how about the people who are paying $1,000 a month premiums and have $7,000 a month deductible? Don, they have to spend $19,000 before they get a dime back. So basically, this was a redistribution of income. That's all it was. It was a tax to make people buy something they don't need, don't want, can't do anything with, and just giving money to the government with a shotgun to their head. And now they're going to opt out of the program and put it in a health savings account or buy something else. This program made no sense. This was a tax on people that were made to buy an insurance that didn't do anything for their families, and that's why they're getting out of it.
Respond. Go ahead.
So first, that's not true. What's happened over time, and hopefully you'll at least be willing to admit this, Republicans have made it abundantly challenging to keep Obamacare in place. You have Republican governors who have opted out of exchanges, making insurance premiums also rise. That was an intentional sabotage of Obamacare. So I also am very curious, in what state is a premium $1,000 a month? Like where does that exist? And the $750 deductible you're talking about, where is that?
Well, no, the deductible, when I left...
The $1,000 premium that you talked about,
when I left Obamacare, I have a family of three. My family's payment went from $500 a month to $1,000, and my deductible went to $10,000. That means that I had to pay $22,000 before I'd get a dime back. The alternative to that was paying the fine and putting the balance of the money in savings.
You have a family of three, though. That's taking care of three people. It's
three people. I mean, I'm an average American. They got hammered by this thing, and my wife had to go out and find an alternative to this in the share market in order to keep my child in Catholic school. I mean, this is the reality.
So are you arguing in favor of single payer or for universal health care?
I'm arguing in favor of not making people pay something that doesn't make any sense for them and hurts their family, so they have no insurance. Basically,
so now
what
your
it does.
insurance is gonna triple. So initially you're paying $300 per person, which I can be honest with you in saying my insurance monthly payment is around $300, $350. So we're about the same, and technically you're a little bit less. Now you're looking at tripling that payment with less coverage because of whatever the Republicans are going.
You have no idea what the premiums are going to be. Look, there's no
what
question.
We know for sure is they're going to be higher.
Well, they keep going up. There's Obamacare has not done anything to bring the costs down. I mean, the whole purpose of Obamacare, Obama said you're going to save.
True.
Wait a minute, Angela. Obama came on TV and said you're going to save $2,500. Lie, false. Nobody saved that. Obama came on TV and said you're going to be able to keep your doctor. Lie,
I
false.
Kept my doctor.
Obama came on TV and said
I kept my doctor.
You can choose your hospital.
I kept my doctor, and
false.
my insurance premiums went down. It's not a lie. Like, just because you personally did not witness this, you also started this conversation by talking about a person with $1,000 payment every month, and then you admitted later it's for 3 people. That's $300 a month per person.
Well, a family of 3 in America is within the mean, right? You want to talk about a single person?
Well, now the challenge that you're going to experience is that you're going to be paying more than that.
Go ahead, Angela. Finish. Go ahead, Angela.
No, you're going to be paying more for less. That's the reality of this. When you have healthy people that are no longer forced to have to pay for insurance, you're going to have sick people only who opt into those plans. And sick people, now pre-existing conditions is on the chopping block. Whether or not they can get the doctor they need or the prescriptions they need, all of that is at risk because of greed.
Well, John,
that's what this tax bill is about.
John, let me just say this to you. And let me just say this, John.
What are you talking about?
John, listen to me. Well, let me just say this. As a single person who pays a lot for health insurance, and when you say you pay for 3 people, you pay $1,000, I understand. But as a single person, I probably pay that much or close to that amount for health insurance in this country. If we want to insure a lot of people, we have to make sacrifices. So why are you complaining? We would all like it to come down. I would like to pay less, and I see you, quite honestly, I see you as paying a lot less than me, and I'm happy that you're doing it.
Well, Don, when your premium is $1,000 and your deductible is $10,000, you have to spend $22,000 before you get a dime back from your insurance company. I don't have $22,000 lying around. You know, perhaps
most people don't.
You and Angela don't. I don't, right?
I don't have
$22,000
lying around
that I could just pay for something.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Well,
there are a lot of people who pay a lot of money for health. There are a lot of healthy people like us who pay a lot of money for people who aren't necessarily healthy. And we understand if we want to be real Americans and help out our brothers and sisters, just like we're going to pay more taxes under this new tax plan, then that's what we have to do as Americans. Maybe we don't buy another pair of shoes. Maybe we don't shop at Whole Foods. Maybe you buy 1 or 2 or 3 less Christmas presents at Christmas. Maybe you don't get a new car every year. Maybe you understand that you have to help to take care of the least of these instead of thinking so selfishly about your own needs.
It's not selfish, Don, but at least you're being honest and saying, look, I want you to pay into a system that doesn't benefit you or your family and might put you at risk in order to help everybody else. If Obama said that...
If I have to pay more money, I am happy paying more money as a single person, as a healthy person for you.
Are either of you going to dispute to me that President Obama said that every family would save $2,500? Did I make that up, or did he say that?
Under Obamacare. No, I saved money.
Did the average American save $2,500?
We'll leave the mics open and the satellite. Hopefully it'll be open. You guys can discuss this after the thing.